Well, friends, families, compadres, and those still unknown, welcome to another episode of Fence Sports. And welcome to the very last day of March. It is about over what is a lot of people's favorite fishing month of the year, which is exciting for those of us that are ready to get turkey season underway. So it's the time of year where if you're enjoying being in the outdoors, you've got a lot going on and you've got a lot to look forward to and you've got a lot you're excited about, whether it's bass fishing or turkey hunting or bass fishing. I don't know what you'd like to do, and any kind of fishing. Lots of guys are catching crappies. Lots of people are just fishing for whatever's biting because the weather's warm and it's enjoyable to be outside. Some of you may be golfers. If you're a golfer, you're probably getting pretty excited. Masters just a couple weeks away. I'm not a huge golfer, but I enjoy it. And I work at a golf course most summers. So I get a little bit of the Masters feel, the Masters vibe this time of year too. And also this time of year, it is Holy Week. And so what better place to pull a verse from for our verse of the episode than from a Holy Week Bible study. So here's the verse today for the Tuesday of Holy Week. This one comes from a Bible Gateway study. So it is Isaiah 49, verses 1 through 4. And this was fitting. I did not intentionally pull this one up, but this was just the one that was the verse of the scripture of the day for this Bible study. And it talks about arrows and quivers and swords and whatnot. So it was kind of fitting, but here it is. Listen to me, you islands. Hear this, you distant nations. Before I was born, the Lord called me. From my mother's womb, he has spoken my name. He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand, he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. He said to me, you are my servant Israel, in whom I will display my splendor. But he said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for nothing at all. Yet what is due me is in the Lord's hand, and my reward is with my God. So that's Isaiah 49, 1 through 4. That's your verse of the episode. And it's a great, if it's not an exciting time for you for fishing or hunting or golf or whatever else you like to do outside, hiking perhaps, then I hope it's an exciting time for you just because of the fact that it's Holy Week. And we get to celebrate a risen Savior this Sunday. Easter Sunday is coming up. I'm recording this on Tuesday of Holy Week. So Easter Sunday is right around the corner, which happens to be the opening weekend of turkey season. And it happens to be the weekend that one of my best friends in the entire world, the one and only Mr. Lucas Pruitt, and his soon-to-be bride, Mackenzie Marlin, are getting married. In, I don't know where they're getting married, Shelbyville, Arlington. It's not Franklin. Don't call it Franklin. But somewhere in Middle Tennessee. We're going to go celebrate them on Saturday and then get to enjoy Easter the next day. It's going to be a big time, and I'm excited for it. It'll be a great time. So anyways, we'll get into the episode now. I got just a few things on tap. We've got what is the best definition as far as having 3 tournaments in a row that you could classify as the good, the bad, and the ugly. They don't get any more stereotypically good, bad, and ugly as the last 3 tournaments that I fished. A BFL and 2 BFLs in a Morristown. So talk about those and talk a little bit about turkey hunting. I don't know how much of it I'm really going to end up doing this year with the fishing schedule, but there's definitely going to be some turkey hunting getting done. Maybe on the same days we're fishing. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But I'll start with the fishing. So Morristown's got off to a great start and then hit a freight train of a concrete wall at Norris. Actually, I should probably say that for the end. That's the ugly one. But we'll start back with Cherokee. So I think the last time that we convened in the podcast world, we were talking about Cherokee. I think I practiced for it and was getting ready to fish the BFL on Cherokee. And as I'm talking about this, I'm going to get on my channel and make sure that the last episode I hadn't already fished Cherokee. I don't think I had. 3 weeks ago? Yeah, no, that wasn't Cherokee time. March 12th. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah. We hadn't fished Cherokee yet. All right, so I don't talk about the same thing twice. So Cherokee happened. It was, I guess, the second week of March because we fished Watts Bar on the 6th, and then Cherokee would have been then on the 13th, 12th, somewhere in there. And practice for it was not great by any means. The fishing was pretty good. It was decent. It was better than what I showed it to be. But I'll tell you one big lesson learned at Cherokee. I get to the end of this. That'll be the main thing. I'll try to wrap these up fairly quickly. But we'll just chat for a minute. We'll just story tell. So I took a day to go and practice. I guess it was Thursday. It was Thursday the week of on Cherokee. I went and fished with a buddy of mine, and we didn't catch a ton of fish. Kind of got an idea for what was going on. We fished until 2 o'clock. We caught 7 or 8. keepers, smallmouth, a couple largemouth, a couple of decent largemouth actually, but nothing that was just super on fire or no areas that just seemed to have a ton of fish in them for me until he left at 3. And then I ended up getting on some fish in a part of the lake I had never fished before. And it was a couple 4-pounders. I was like, all right, sweet. So I catch a couple, and that's really all I had going in the tournament day, and a couple of places I thought I could crank them. And so I ended up getting in that area first thing in the morning. I've been catching them on a jerkbait, and it's 5th cast probably. It wasn't 5 minutes. I catch probably a 3.5, 3 3/4 smallmouth jerkbait, runs off with it. It was great. I mean, the area felt great. You roll into a spot, and you're like, it just feels right. There's a couple fish popping, and it just seems like you're going to catch them. That's the vibe we got. And that being the only place that I've been catching any big fish or good ones, we spent probably an hour and a half in there in the morning, fished through the whole little area because I didn't fish it all in practice. I kind of caught them on one little stretch and bailed. But that spot, that didn't get another bite for an hour and a half. So spent a couple hours running around, caught one other 3-pounder on a little swim bait, just a little Kotek jerkbait I was throwing was just a Pro Blue Mega Bass. And caught one on a little Kotek, ran a bunch of different stuff, and didn't catch them. And at 2 o'clock, had 1 o'clock, had one fish and go back to that area and found one little vein of rock that was submerged that I caught starting at probably 2:15 and 2:30. I caught 2 more 3-pounders or close to 3-pounders. And my problem that I couldn't help other than catch them sooner and not wait until the end to do something halfway decent was the fact that I was the first flipping fly. I'm never the first fly. And I knew, and I don't make a big deal out of boat numbers because you got to figure out how to catch them or you won't. But I told Dana, we went to Bass Pro that night before, and I was waiting to get the text, and we're walking around. I said, I'm going to get an early flight tomorrow. I was like, I just know I am. And I was like, and I'd rather not, but it's not a big deal if I do. And sure enough, we were first flight doing it 3. And so there, I mean, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else as much as it happens to me, and it's probably just because I'm not very good. But it usually takes me the majority of the day to figure out what's going on a lot of the time. And so there I am at 2 o'clock with 2 fish, and then at 2:30 I've got 4, and they were I mean, I caught those 2, I mean, just about back to back. And my co-angler had caught a 3-pounder, probably at least, on a swim bait as we were coming down that same stretch. And so there I am at 2:45. I probably had to leave at 2:52 to get right back right at 3, and I left at 2:50. But there I am at 2:45 with that little swim bait, just like, they're going to bite it. I know I'm going to catch another one. Like, it's going to happen. Like, we're going to catch a 5th one in the next 5 minutes, in the next 2 minutes. All right, this is my last cast, but I really think one's going to bite. And it didn't. But I'm bad about judging smallmouth size because I'm thinking I've got like 9 pounds. And actually, I thought I had about 10 pounds. I get in and I bag them. I'm like, I don't even have 10 pounds. Like, these probably weigh 9. So I get into the weigh-in line and they bump them. And the guy's like, dude, you're going to be pretty good with 4. He's like, did you have the 5th one on? I was like, I never even had the 5th bite, I don't think. And I weighed them. They weighed 12.2. I was like, 12.2? I was like, shoot, that's a lot better off than I thought I was. So we ended up getting paid there. We were 27th and got a check with 12.2 there. And was feeling really good going into Dale Hall because I had gotten a check at Morristown, had gotten a check at Cherokee. I'm like, all right, let's keep this check train rolling. This is good. I like this. And boy, did we ever crap the bed at Dale Hall. I mean, it was a disaster. It was disastrous. And I have no idea why. Well, I kind of have an idea why. But we were there the 20th was the day of the tournament. That was my spring break. I got to go. I got to fish for 3 days beforehand, so I don't have any excuses why I didn't catch them. Or 4 days. I got to fish almost 4 days beforehand. And, well, let me tell you, the smallmouth up there, they really bite. The problem is, with a 16 to 21 inch slot and only being able to keep one on either side, it doesn't really help you any. So you would get a little discouraged because you'd go and catch smallmouth and be like, well, doesn't matter. Doesn't help me any. Then you go try to catch largemouth, and I could not catch them. The weights for the tournament were pretty good. I mean, I had a couple 17-pound bags, 16s, 15s, it seemed like. And my dilemma was every time I'd get it was a dilemma. Every time I'd get a bite that was a largemouth, it'd be a 3 to 5 pounder. I mean, they were good ones, but I couldn't catch them. I mean, consistently at all. It was the most obvious stuff is what you'd get a bite on that everybody was fishing. You run and find the last little deep stretch going back into a creek that had some wood on it, and you'd flip 50 trees, and one of them you'd get a 4 or 5 pounder to bite off of. And you're like, dang, that's a big one. Let's go do it somewhere else. And it was just so hard to duplicate. The last day practicing, there was a really, really good jerkbait bite, and caught them on a jerkbait really good. I mean, all over the lake. I mean, to where you could, by the afternoon, the wind got up, was blowing, you could call your shot. I pulled up to one spot. It was one of the last places I was going to fish that day. And I pulled up to one spot, the wind's blowing on it, nice little chunk rock transition. And I pulled up, took the boat out of gear, turned it off. I was like, if you stand up and make a cast down that bank, you're going to catch one. Do you want to burn a fish, potentially, that you might catch tomorrow? I was like, yeah, I do. So I stood up and made 2 casts and caught one. 2.5 pounder. I was like, sweet. That was fun. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, that last day, and I was feeling pretty good about it because I was catching a largemouth that last day and would have had 16, 17 pounds probably. So the day of, and I had a weird spot that, I know this was in the Dale Hall video if you watched it, but I had a weird spot that was trying to pass a moon eye jig head, and the barb and just the tip of the head was hanging in it, coming out of its bunghole. And that's the only thing my jerkbait hooked. It just hung on the head of the jig head. And it was bizarre. I mean, I wish I'd have had the camera going when I brought it in, but it was crazy. And it looked very uncomfortable. But we maybe helped the fish and threw it back. It was a big spot. Somebody saw that picture and was like, you sure that's not a mean mouth? I'm like, I'm not sure, but I think it's a spot. Anyways, and the tournament day just didn't catch them. And I knew, so that's the only Music City one that I was fishing. I wasn't worried about points. The only 2 things that I could catch them on in 4 days was a jerkbait and a jig. And I'm like, if I can catch 5 tomorrow, they'll probably be 5 pretty good ones. And the jerkbait bite had just been throwing it out over the ends of those, the bigger trees that slanted a little further into the water, not the vertical ones, not the big bushy trees, but if you just had one big tree running in, a 45-degree angle, 60-degree angle, something, whatever, that just casted a bigger arch under the water, if you throw out the ends of them, the day before, it was hard not to catch one off on a jerkbait. It was a lot of fun. And so I did make a mistake. I should not have started where I started. I didn't know what the pressure was going to look like a lot of places, but I had a feeling that where I was wanting to start was probably going to have a lot of people in it, and it did. It was a spot in Sulphur Creek. And so don't catch them there. Make it to where I probably should have started. There's a couple boats in there, and my co-angler caught a short in there, I believe, and I pulled one off right at the boat. It could not have come any closer to getting caught. It's probably a 4 pounder at least. I mean, it's a pretty big one on a jerkbait. And that's the only keeper bite I had all day. And I told him beforehand, this was me being stubborn. And I probably should not have been this way because I can't be like this on normal tournament or normal circumstances. I was like, look, I'm catching them on jig and jerkbait. And if I'm not going to catch them on those 2 things, I'm probably just going to keep throwing them because I don't need to try to salvage points. It's the only one I'm fishing in, Music City wise. And if I don't catch them, I don't catch them. I just assume try to catch the fish, the 3-4 pounders I've been catching, and see if I can, finish pretty well. Well, I didn't. It was a disaster. And it was stupid because you're standing there holding the jerkbait. The wind was blowing all day just about, and you'd be throwing it and throwing it and throwing it and throwing it. And every time I'd set a jerkbait down to pick something else up, I'm like, why are you throwing anything else? You've got to be throwing the jerkbait. And then I picked the jerkbait up. I'm like, why are you throwing a jerkbait? You haven't had a bite in it in the last 4 hours. But it was, I don't know. Normally when I feel like I can catch them on jerkbait, I can at least get a few bites doing it, and it was bad. And we could have 100% gone and caught some smallmouth, but he's not fishing it for points either. And I think at one point he even said, I was like, hey, if there's somewhere, if you want to go try to catch an under smallmouth just to have one to weigh in for points, and we neither one were worried about it because we didn't need the points. We were just fishing this one, both of us. So that worked out in the fact that we didn't feel like we had to go catch 3.5 pound smallmouth to be disappointed we couldn't keep them and try to catch an under. But I don't know. It's kind of a bummer of a day. You kind of feel like an idiot when you fish for 3.5, 4 days and still can't catch them. But what do you do? Sometimes it happens. Although I know Dale is being really crazy water level wise for the guys that are there right now for the Toyota series. And I don't know, did that start today? I guess that starts this week. It's Tuesday. Yeah, I guess the Toyota series starts this week. Either, I guess, I don't know if Wednesday's an off day for them or not, and it starts Thursday, or if it starts Wednesday. Somebody, I think, said today was their last practice day. Maybe it was yet. I don't know. Anyways, with all that rain, I'm sure if you're anywhere near the southeast, you've had a ton of rain the last week and a half or so. and it's flooded the trees that we were looking at when I was there, thinking, oh, man, I wish those were in the water because I bet you could catch something flipping. But it flooded a lot of those trees, and I don't know if the fish will get in them or not by the time the tournament gets there. But if it does, it could be really fun. Muddied a lot of stuff up, and leaves. Gosh, there are leaves. It's hard to crank because you hang a leaf every other turn. Anyway, so Chucky was the good, Dale was the bad. The ugly was Norris. Now Norris is ugly a lot. I'm not a huge Norris fan, but I actually felt pretty good about this one. So John and I go out the weekend before, catch a ton of fish. I mean, we probably caught 15, 16. At least half of them were keepers. The ones that weren't, mostly were smallmouth. But the only problem was we were running a pretty good ways. We were running 40 minutes up the clinch from where we took off at, which essentially, if there was an imaginary map of Norris right here, we put in way up here. We put it up there, and we were running like way over here. We went into Loyson Sea, and then out. It was forever long. And we shouldn't have run it, but we did because we thought we could catch them up there. So we get there, and there were storms in the forecast. My day started off, I was a little aggravated. Somebody said something smart to me in the takeoff line. I was like, huh? What are you talking? Huh? Clueless. Anyways, I let that fluster me for my 40-minute boat ride because some guy was being a doofus. Yeah, I what's the word you say? I resign. Moving on. We get there, and as soon as we put the trolling motor in the water, you start hearing thunder. I'm like, great. Like, we're probably going to have to hide at some point today. And you can see it coming. It's getting dark. I mean, it's the dark stuff. And we fished for about 30 minutes. We had one big area, one big pocket that we thought if we made a lap through it, we could probably catch at least 5 and then fish our way back and try to catch. If we weren't catching big ones in our main area, we thought we could fish good-looking stuff all the way back to Lonis Young Park and catch some good ones. Nay. About 30 minutes in, and John is even more leery of lightning and thunder than I am, for a good reason. And so he's on. You'll see it in the tournament video. It's pretty funny because at one point we were both doing it where we're just we're sitting on our knees on the front deck casting, and it's looking good. There's fish chasing bait all over the graph. There's a couple fish coming up on top. We went through top water for a minute, thinking, the water in that area had come up from 52 to 59 in a week. It got really, really warm, so we're excited. And we're like, we're just going to fish every little bit of this and find out. Well, 30 minutes in, I was like, well, let's idle around this point before this lightning starts and get to where we had been catching them last weekend. So as we get about halfway around the corner, there was a bolt of lightning that struck behind me, made a big circle around us, and it ended behind John. So it made about 180, 200-degree circle. Because John said, that bolt of lightning started right there and ended right there. I was like, no, it didn't. It kept going. It was way over there. So I said, we need to hide, don't we? He's like, we probably ought to. So we go under a boat dock. We pull under a boat dock there around Lakeview, not in the marina slip. But we're sitting there in the boat, just casting out the back, waiting for this to end. Because honestly, there's a lot of people that fish the Morristown, and they fish through the lightning, fish through the storm. You saved a lot of time doing that because we hid 2 different times. In total, we probably sat under a marina slip or a dock for 2.5, 3 hours. And when you're running 40 minutes one way, that eats up a lot of your day. But I've heard too many stories about people getting struck by lightning. And I so badly don't want to get struck by lightning that to us, it's like you're paying $100 to fish a tournament. It ain't worth getting struck by lightning, but we'd be sitting in there and it'd be just when you'd see somebody just floating down the bank, just fishing. I'm like, dude, kudos to you, I guess. You've got more gonads than us combined. But to me, I'm like, why would you risk it? I mean, I get it. We're all diehards, but my gosh. I don't want to get struck by lightning. The craziest lightning thing I've ever had happen, and this was not lightning, this was just electricity, I guess. I was on Lake Oneida practicing for an open years ago. Was I in high school? No, I was in college, I guess, sophomore year of college. I was 20 probably. And we're fishing. I'm out there practicing in the open, and you see this big electrical system come. You see this big mass clouds coming up from Lake, whatever it runs into, Ontario, I think. Is that right? That may not be right. Anyways, here it comes up Lake Oneida, and I've got a fluke, and I throw the fluke out there, and it's just sitting on top of the water. It won't sink, and that's because my line is hovering about 2 feet above my head. And if I'd press my spool and strip that line out, that line would just float higher and higher up into the sky. I bet I stripped it until it was 15, 20 feet above me. And I was sitting there looking at it, looking at the storm coming. I'm thinking, It's probably not a very good idea. So I reeled up, and when you're reeling the line through the guides, the metal guides, you just hear. I mean, the fluke wouldn't sink because the electricity is holding in the air. And I've got a pretty good video of it. Actually, I'll put it in right here because it's fascinating, a little terrifying, but mainly fascinating. If there's enough electricity in the air that your line and lure hovers like this, you should probably stop fishing. So, anyways, I just don't want to get struck by lightning. So we wasted a lot of our day. Well, not wasted. We preserved our lives and wasted the day. A lot of people call you whatever. What it was, you sat under a marina slit. Well, you just got out like, we fished through it. By gosh, we're diehards. Well, you would have died really hard if a bolt of lightning hit you. We just didn't do it. So, and then we didn't catch them very good. We didn't catch them at all, really, when the lightning quit. So, in between the first and the second time we hid, we got out for about 45 minutes, and I caught a keeper Carolina rigging, a brush hog. He caught one while we were sitting under the dock on a little swim bait. Neither one of them we either thought was going to keep. I mean, they were babies. He caught a spot that wouldn't have even made a fish stick, and I caught a little largemouth that was barely 14 inches, and it was starved. I mean, it's no wonder it ate the brush hog because it was famished. And those two fish combined weighed a whopping 1.76 pounds. I'm telling you, biggins. But it's just about, I mean, you get frustrated because you're sitting on the dock and what are you going to do? We weren't willing to risk it, especially it just wasn't worth it to us. So that was the ugly because you're sitting there, you're getting frustrated, your time's ticking away, and you're like, well, what are we going to do? And then by 1 o'clock, you got, 2 more hours worth of fishing, and you're thinking, well, we're not catching them like we were in between the lightning bolts. Do we hang around or do we just start fishing our way back and just hit new random stuff for the most part? And that's what we did. And I had one flipping smallmouth take a 110 from me. I was so mad because there's one bush that I really thought I could catch one out of. Real nice little point back there behind Island F. The tree stays in the water for the most part. It's submerged, and the top of it was about 6 feet. Just perfect for my 110. And I've got the live scope flipped towards it, and I'm watching it get close to that bush. And I tick the top of one of those bushes, and here he comes. I see him come out of the tree, come right to the jerkbait, grab it, turn. I feel tick, and before I don't even put pressure on it. I'm just reeling down to it, and as soon as it tightened up at all, it just broke off. I'm like, what? 12-pound line. I don't even normally throw 12-pound line on my jerkbait. Just clipped it right off. I have no idea what happened or if the line got hung on something earlier. Maybe the lightning fried it a little bit. I don't know what happened. But here comes that smallmouth. Twice come up trying to throw the jerkbait. I hope he got rid of it. But what are you going to do? It was weird. And nothing. I mean, we just didn't have any idea what was going on. A lot of people were telling us, we're catching a bunch cranking. We're catching a bunch cranking. Well, I can never catch them cranking when everybody else is catching them cranking, which seems like the idiot bait. Just throw it. Just tie it on and throw it wherever. And that's what Curtis and Dennis did. My friends that we fished the Morsetowns with, we try to help each other out. And he told me the day before, he's like, I've caught a ton cranking this color Little John. And I was like, well, I'll crank a little. And I cranked when I couldn't get bit doing what we have been doing. I cranked away, cranked my little heart out. I never got a bite. We come out, I bet we caught 20 keepers today, they say. Well, they're a lot better at that than I am. Curtis especially, I think. But kudos to them. They weighed in right at 12 pounds, I think it was. They were at 12 pounds, so that got them some good points. Moved them up a lot in the points. And we fell rather tremendously. I think we're like 48th in the points now. So we should have 2 better tournaments coming up. Norris was the wild ball by far because neither one of us fish it, really, which is just an excuse. We should have spent more time up there, but we just didn't have the time and didn't have the experience, and we could not make it happen. So that was the ugly. Between the storms and our efforts and attitude, it was just a bad deal. So anyways, moving on from Norris. You got Cherokee next. You got Douglas after that. Cherokee should be a lot of fun. The smallmouth ought to be spawning, and you should be able to catch 1 million of them. Maybe not 1 million. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But the smallmouth ought to be biting really, really good. And the largemouth probably will be too. So Cherokee ought to be fun. It's the 2nd week of April. This weekend, going to Lucas's, and I needed to call him and see if the plan is. Lucas is getting married on the opening day of turkey season. I don't know what he was thinking. But we're still going turkey hunting. I don't know if we are going turkey hunting, but Lucas is going turkey hunting on the morning of his wedding. I would love to get the cameras out there. and see if I could film him shooting a bird on his wedding day, because that would be cool. And then maybe, depending on the timing getting back on Sunday, Dana and I may try to do a little bit of turkey hunting on Sunday. Who knows? And then Monday, probably, the kids have Monday off. I may try to get out on Cherokee some on Monday, because that next weekend, the 10th, is when the Morristown is. I'm going to take a shotgun with me, because there's quite a bit of public land around Cherokee. And I will intentionally fish around some of those public land pieces just to see if I can get one to gobble. And if I do, we'll maybe power pole them down and run up in the woods, see if we can kill one from the lake, because that would be fun. That would be cool. But anyways, who knows? Turkey hunting, any day I get where I've got a free day, I'll probably be practicing for whatever tournament's next, because we've got a tournament at least every other weekend from now until the end of May. So, but I do want to take some time on turkey hunt this year, or at least try to get with some people that I can film killing some turkeys, because we need to mix up we need to sprinkle a little more forest into the fins, because we've been straight up fins for a while, and we need a little forest, little feathers in there too. So hopefully we make that happen. Yeah, I think it's all God. I could, if Lucas is doing his own thing Saturday morning, I just thought tonight I could look up and see what public land is close to where we're going. I think there's quite a bit. But man, it'd be slammed. It'd be slammed turkey opener morning with people, and we'd be just totally blind. And I don't want to get in there with guys that have roosted birds the night before and know what they're doing and where they're going, and just be in there making a ruckus. But we might. Well, who knows? Who knows? But anyways, let me make sure I don't have anything else for us. Turkey hunting, if that's your deal. Hey, if you're listening and you want somebody to come and film you killing a bird or hunting a bird, I would love to do it. Just let me know. We'll figure it out. Oh, the other thing that will hopefully be cool, I just texted him about it tonight, and who knows if it's a possibility. But Hunter Bland, a friend of mine who fishes the opens as a pro, is going to be up here fishing Douglas. And we may try to get together with him, and if I can steal him away for a little while, either do a podcast with him, or maybe even try to get out there and shoot some footage of him and have him break some things down, how he approaches a new lake. He's a Florida guy, and Douglas is about as far as you can get from Florida, I think. So it would be interesting to get, a take from somebody out of town breaking down one of our lakes. So if I can talk him into doing that, if it's allowed before official practice starts. I haven't looked at those rules in a while, so I don't know what the deal is with that. But that's something that would potentially be pretty cool coming up. So I think you're going to enjoy what's coming up on the channel the next month or so. And I want to say thank you to those of you that have subscribed and that are watching, because we broke 400 this week, and that's super exciting. Next time we break a 100-mile marker, it'll be 500. We'll be halfway to our goal of 1,000 for the year. We've already gotten, by the end of February, we'd already had more views and watch hours than we did all 2020 put together. So that's super exciting. And it's nice to get on there and see, lately in my head, it's been like, if a video gets over 100 views, that's pretty good. Well, the last few have gotten, 100, 200, 300, 400, and that's awesome. And I appreciate that. So, and I know these podcast ones are maybe not what most people like seeing, but hey, it's how we start. We started off podcasting, and we're going to keep podcasting, because sometimes I've got all these stories and I just got to let them out. Just got to let them flow. So that's what we're doing. But anyways, I wish you a wonderful week, a wonderful day, a wonderful morning, evening, noon, and night, whatever it is you are currently in, and a blessed Holy Week. I hope you take some time this week to focus on Holy Week and what that means to us as Christians. And if you don't know what that means, that you would take some time maybe and look into it and find out if it's something that you don't know a lot about. I would certainly love to answer any questions or point you in the right direction for information about Holy Week or Jesus Christ or anything of that nature in general. There's a lot of crazy things, and I don't just mean, politically, just the world as a whole. There's a lot of crazy things that are going on in the world, and it's nice when you've got that sort of comfort and assurity and guarantee that comes with being a Christian and comes with being a believer in Christ. So if you don't know what that means and you'd like to, I'd love to talk to you about it. So shoot me a DM, and that'd be the coolest thing in the world. That'd be the best thing this podcast and this YouTube channel could ever do. So hope you have a phenomenal evening, a phenomenal week, a wonderful Easter. Thanks for being on the channel, and I'll see y'all next time.